Hello and welcome to this demonstration of how Riverbed Eternity ensures peak performance for folks accessing applications in the data center or the cloud, regardless of if they're at the office or working from home. We'll take a look at how Riverbed Eternity gives you visibility into those remote users and the applications they're accessing. With the Riverbed Eternity Performance and Visibility solution, you have real-time and historical insight into what's going on with your end users and your applications, no matter where they are. So in this video, we'll present three different scenarios, each of which focuses on a different aspect of how Riverbed Eternity ensures optimal application performance and also provides visibility into everything going on with your remote users. In the first scenario, we'll see how Eternity provides very granular, real-time, and historical visibility into remote access VPN performance. In the second scenario, we'll see dramatic performance improvement of an application in a traditional private data center when using Riverbed's application acceleration solution. And in the third scenario, we'll see that same improvement to SaaS application performance. Each demonstration is only a few minutes long, so please feel free to watch all three or just watch the one that you're most interested in. So let's get started with our first scenario, in which we'll use the Eternity dashboard to investigate our remote access VPN usage trends, which we can then use for capacity planning to ensure our network security standards and to get a clear understanding of what our end users are accessing when they're working remotely. So let's get started. With the recent shift of people working in the office to working at home, one of the problems IT departments now face is visibility into all the computer and application activity going on outside the boundaries of the traditional branch network. Visibility has always been important, but the nature of how we get that information has changed. Now, historically, IT has had some visibility into application performance when someone's working at the office, but when that person is at home, at a cafe, at an airport, really anywhere, that visibility becomes much more difficult. Eternity provides insight into which applications are struggling to perform, and really which of our end users are experiencing a poor digital experience. So let's take a look at two specific Eternity dashboards that allow you to mobilize and to manage a remote workforce. Now here we have a more general dashboard that gives us a nice overview of what applications are operating on our workstations, how those applications are being accessed, and any health events we should know about, like crashes or errors. Notice that each of our applications are given a UXI score and an activity score, both of which are indicators of how an application is performing. And that's maybe for a specific region or at the individual computer level. And it's important to remember that that's the key here. All these metrics track back to individual people, individual computers, which report into the system no matter where they are. So what we're interested in here is the EUE, or the end user experience. So let's navigate now to another dashboard that focuses specifically on our remote workforce. And from here, we can answer some fundamental questions like, how are our employees connecting? And what applications are they using? And since we're looking at our remote workforce, we could also ask, is our VPN capacity keeping up with the demand? So let's stop here and look at what kind of information we can glean from our Eternity dashboards. This is the App Usage Trend by Connection Method dashboard, and you can see it's made up of several dashlets that show us the number of devices and their connection methods, broken down by VPN, on-site or off-site, and over the last 30 days. And we can see the total number of devices, how many applications are being accessed, and the application usage by department. So let's stay here for just a moment. And we can see that on March 13th, there was a significant increase of VPN users. You can see that on the top graph. Now, by default, this is set to a 2-week usage trend, but we can adjust that time frame. And here you can see that we're focused on just a few days. So let's focus now on the VPN usage over time, which we can do using the VPN Usage Trend dashboard. Now, this dashboard identifies all the VPNs that end users are connecting with, and it further breaks down the distribution of end users on each VPN. So from a capacity planning standpoint, we can get a quick sense of how our end users are connecting into our corporate environment. And in this case, we can clearly see that one or two specific VPNs are being utilized more than all the others. So now IT can plan accordingly, both for capacity and for security. Eternity gives us client-level visibility into our end users and their digital experience, regardless of where they are, in the office, at home, anywhere with an internet connection. Today, we expect our applications to perform well whether we're at the office or working from the kitchen table. Now that we have an idea of how our remote end users are working over the VPN, let's look at another scenario to see how application acceleration improves performance for those end users working from home, and in this case, performance of an application in an on-premises data center. In this scenario, we'll look at the performance of an application out of a traditional private data center. Our application is called Your Enterprise App, and it's a video that will both stream and download from our on-premises servers. In our demo, we'll see a side-by-side comparison of playing the video and then downloading the video file using a Windows computer without Riverbed's application acceleration, and then a computer with application acceleration. The difference is pretty dramatic, so let's take a look. On the left, we have a Windows 10 machine without the application accelerator agent. On the right, we have another Windows computer running the agent called Client Accelerator. I'll open up the Client Accelerator and notice right away that it's providing over 93% total data reduction for this computer. And that's a reduction of competing network activity that can cause congestion and then affect the performance of our applications. Look closely at the connection list and notice that there are all sorts of applications listed by process and using a source and destination IP address. The Client Accelerator uses process names, IP addresses, and protocols to apply whatever acceleration policy you've configured for your organization. So let's see what this looks like in action. On the computer on the left, which remember doesn't have the Client Accelerator, let's do a quick and simple speed test just to get an idea of what kind of bandwidth we're working with. I'm going to quickly do the same on our computer running the agent as well, and we'll let these run for just a moment and then compare. Now, right away, we can see that our computer without the Client Accelerator has some serious bandwidth to work with. Both the download and upload is over 700 megabits per second, and our computer with the Client Accelerator, it also has plenty of bandwidth with a download of almost 570 megs and an upload around 723. So a lot of bandwidth to work with here. Now let's see how these two computers perform when playing a video and then downloading a file hosted in our data center, our on-prem data center. On our computer without the Client Accelerator, we'll navigate to our application and stream the video from the remote source, which remember is an on-premises data center. The video is a little jittery and it seems to have some buffering issues, so let's try downloading the video file. Now we have plenty of bandwidth, so you'd think this would be extremely fast. We can see here that it's moving along, but the issue is that bandwidth isn't the only factor in this equation. The performance of an application depends on many factors like latency, server processing time, issues out in the public internet, and just how many other things are competing for that same bandwidth. So our 110 meg file did just finish, and it looks like that took about 41 seconds. Let's try the same thing on the computer on the right, which does have the Client Accelerator installed. I'll navigate to the same site and play the same video. And right away, we can see that buffering is much better and the video plays much smoother. So let's download the video file and see how long that takes. Now here toward the top of your screen, you can already see the download progress bar moving along pretty well. And it looks like it's already complete. That was just 9 seconds to download the same file on the similar computer with the similar or even a little less bandwidth available. And that's the benefit of application acceleration, ensuring your applications work better over the network. Now, I want to do this again just to make sure that these are real download times and not one-offs. So back on our computer without the Client Accelerator, let's do this again. And we can see that the video it's playing pretty well. And that's good, though I have to say that as an engineer, if this were a line of business application, I'd personally want extremely consistent, predictable behavior. So let's download it again and see what we get for a time. And so far, we can see that there's a lag just starting the download. And that could be so many things causing that. And there it goes finally. And it does seem to be a little bit better than before. And there it goes. It completes in about 28 or 29 seconds. Now, let's do that again on our computer with the Client Accelerator. Now, right away, you can see the video plays well, which is expected. But let's see how long it takes to download. And there it is already complete. And that took about 5 seconds total. And these are real numbers of downloading a 110 meg file on two different computers, which each have literally hundreds of megabits per second of available bandwidth. Now, notice here in the connection list of our client accelerator, we were able to reduce the total data for Microsoft Edge, which is how we viewed our video and then downloaded the file, literally by 99%. That means our application will be that much more efficient, lightweight on the network, and therefore work at peak performance. The client accelerator, which you just saw in action, is an agent installed locally on your computer, but it's part of a book-ended solution in which there's also a device on the far end, in this case, in our company data center. But is this effective for our cloud or SaaS applications? In the next scenario, we'll take a look at another comparison of two computers with and without application acceleration, but this time accessing Microsoft 365 SharePoint and Salesforce. In this scenario, we'll take a look at how Riverbed's application acceleration can significantly improve the performance of our SaaS applications. And just like we saw in our last scenario, we'll see a side-by-side comparison of two Windows computers, one of which not running application acceleration, and the other one running application acceleration. In this scenario, though, we'll be accessing Microsoft 365 SharePoint as well as Salesforce rather than an on-premises data center. Now, the reality is today that we're all probably using a combination of on-premises applications, cloud applications hosted in Azure, for example, and SaaS applications like Microsoft 365. So it's important to remember that Riverbed's application acceleration works for the remote worker using an application that could live anywhere. So let's take a look. We'll start by downloading a file from Microsoft 365 from SharePoint down to our local Windows computer, and that's the one that doesn't have application acceleration running. This is a 500 meg file, so it's a reasonable size, and notice how long that takes. Now, it is true that 500 megs isn't a small file, but it's still pretty common, especially if you're talking about things like large PDFs, PowerPoint presentations, complex Visio drawings, and so on. Now let's upload that same file to OneDrive. Again, you can see that, of course, it does work, but since it's a sizable file, it does take a good amount of time. Now let's move over to our Windows computer that's running application acceleration and see the difference. So we'll download that same 500 meg file, and let's see how long that takes. Right away, you can see the big difference in performance between the two computers, one with application acceleration and one without. And now that we have that file, let's upload it to OneDrive, just like we did before, and compare that as well. And again, we can see right away the significant improvement in performance uploading this file to Microsoft's cloud. Now let's look at a different SaaS application. I'll go back to our computer not using application acceleration, and I'll browse to our Salesforce site and download a 100 megabyte video file. Now this is a smaller file than our last example, so I do expect it to take a little less time. But notice, it's still taking quite a while to download. And now let's do the same on our computer with application acceleration, and again, see the difference. So I'll navigate to the site, and then I'll click on download. And again, right away, you can already see the significant difference in performance, this time between my local computer and a different SaaS application, Salesforce. Remember that Riverbed's application acceleration is a book-ended solution with an agent running on a local computer and the other end being in a private data center, in the public cloud, or provided as a service, which is how we accelerate SaaS applications. So since that agent is local to the computer, application acceleration happens anywhere our remote workers find themselves, at home, at the office, at the airport, whatever. And especially in today's world in which many organizations use a hybrid environment of on-premises applications, cloud-based applications, and SaaS applications, we need a solution that can cover all the bases, which is exactly what Riverbed's application acceleration does. In today's demonstration, we saw 3 different scenarios in which Riverbed Eternity provided deep insight into our remote end users working over a VPN. And we also saw how Riverbed's application acceleration solution improved the performance of an application both on-premises and in the cloud. Riverbed Eternity operates end-to-end, from the client, wherever it happens to be, to the cloud, whether it's private, public, or delivered as a service. You can learn more by visiting riverbed.com or by visiting the Riverbed community at community.riverbed.com to read the latest discussions and join in on the conversation. And of course, you can always reach out to your local Riverbed attorney representative who can answer your questions and connect you with the right technical resource. Thanks very much.